Hey Dylan, it's Coach Benlin here. Just been breaking down some of your swings from our last few sessions. What I do is I put my notes into a document that I could send over to you. So at the end of the video, I'll email you the PDF so that you can have this in front of you as well. So if it gets a little wordy or there's some language that you don't understand, we could bring it into the next session and discuss in person. So what I'm going to do is I'm walk through the document here, just breakdown of your swing, some things I think we keep an eye out for, some tweaks and adjustments. I have a drill I could show you that's going to help with something. Try to find a MLB comparison um, to your swing. So breaking down your swing, a couple things, and we discuss a lot. I've coached you for a few years now. Overall, I think you have very quick hands. You have a lot of power to the pull side. Um, which I think you get a little, you fall in love with that power to the pull side. You'll catch one out in front and you'll rip it to right field. I want to make sure that you're using the whole field in general. I think your swing is quirky, but you've had some success, and that's going to lead to the conversation of if it ain't broke, should we fix it right now? But we also have to be aware of the future, and as you get older, pitching improves, and I want to make sure that as you see an increase in velocity, some of the holes in your swing aren't going to get exposed. Um, the last thing I want you moving up, get into varsity and better baseball, and then struggling to put the ball in play and be successful. I also want to watch your load. There's a click step. I call it a click click. You're going to bring your foot in and bring it back out. Once again, not a problem now, but if it's going to mess with timing later, we'll watch it. Over the next year or so, and we'll see if it affects you. I'll talk about that in the video in a second. Um, in general, you're catching a lot of balls really well. Like I said, to right field, pull side power, but there's just too much inconsistent contact. There's a lot of rollovers, and I can tell watching the video how frustrated you get when it happens. And in general, I think you're putting way too many balls in the air. I think that with your speed and your base running ability, you're going to have a lot of hits with ball sneaking in the infield that you're going to beat out, and there's no bad hops in the air. So we definitely want to make sure we're not putting too many in the air. In the cage, it's different. Put one up to the ceiling. You got a new ball in the cage, but in game, you're going to be popping out. And you're going to be very frustrated on the bench waiting for your next at bat. So a couple things to look out for. But I've been breaking down a few of these swings now, and I'll just talk about some of the things that are jumping out at me as I watch them. But it's definitely a unique swing. It's very quirky. There's some things that help you a lot, and some things that lead to some inconsistencies. So let's look at the first one I have here. Here, let me zoom in a little bit. I'll maximize it here. Okay, this is from a couple weeks ago. Let me go full screen. So the first note I have in the document, I'll go back to that in a second, is talking about bat angle. And there's a conversation to be had about the angle of your bat when you swing. And, I don't know if it's a conversation we should have via the video. I think it's a lot easier in person, but I think I can introduce it so we can talk about it in the next session. So let me play this clip a few times through, let it loop through, watch the swings, and then we'll talk about it. But the past couple of years that I've coached you, and I've seen you lead the team in hitting multiple years. So it's it's got to be frustrating to hear that there's some improvements available. But once again, as the pitching improves when you get older, I want to make sure you're ready for it, because we think very, very highly of you. Okay, so if I break this down kind of frame by frame here, and we watch this swing, I want you to watch the bat. I know it's a little cut off in this video, but let's watch your hands and let's watch the angle of this bat. I know we've talked about this before. When we get you on blast motion, a lot of these things kind of get exposed, and we could show you that in person, but let's just take a look at it here. I'll play it frame by frame here. We'll see it. So as you load, your hands go back, which is great. Right here. Hands are going to go back. They get in a good position right here. Now you keep the bat very vertical right here, almost straight up, right? They call that tipping. And the head of the bat is straight up vertical here. Let me just draw on the screen here. Directly up here. Now what's going to happen as I play it is you're going to flatten out the bat almost at this angle here. And then I'll change color again. It's going to drop almost directly flat here before you then pull it through. And then once it's flat at this angle, it's going to take a long loop this way into the zone. And I think it's adding a big loop to the swing that as the velocity comes, I want to make sure you're not having trouble catching up to it. Let me clear the screen and we'll watch that in slow motion. And like I said, I don't want to go too much into this in the video, but we're going to talk about it in person. And we'll break it down in person. So here you go. This is the vertical point right here. And then watch it drop straight back, almost behind your head, flat right there. So you go from a vertical tip, flattening it out here. Now, it's pointed direct opposite of you to the back of the cage there. Now, watch these actions from vertical to flat, and then it's got to come around. Now, this is where I think you're going to be in trouble. Right there, you should be attacking that ball. And now watch it come around the back here. That's a lot of movement to go from vertical to flat, then around. Okay? Now, like I said before, it's difficult because you've had a lot of success doing this. You've led the team in hitting multiple years. But something we got to watch out for. Conversation to be had about the angle of your bat in the load. Okay? Now, before we go back to this loop, I just want to show you an image that I found to show you a bunch of pros doing it and where their bats are at that position in the load. Let me pull it up. So I put for the first part of the point of emphasis is a bat angle, just to introduce it, and we'll talk about it in person next time I see you. So here is a bunch of different professionals and where they are at that launch position, hands back, front foot down, ready to go. And you know, if you're looking at it, drawing it again. Let's look at, it could be anybody here. Let's look at, we'll look at Cano right here. You're going to see that his hands are back here and you're seeing this angle almost in like a 45 degree right here, right? If this was yours, it would be kind of vertical and then heading back flat and then coming all the way around and attacking this way. So something that we're going to watch for, but I don't want to spend too much time on it. Okay. The second point of emphasis here is talking about the front foot in your lead leg. You land open, and I'll show you what I mean by that. But we want to make sure that we're landing closed at a 45-degree angle or less. And the problem with that, and I'll show you in the video, is if you're landing open, there's a good chance that your entire front side will open a little early. And one of my concerns is the amount of rollovers that you have, right, to the pull side. So if we keep that front foot closed, it'll close off the whole front side, and there's a chain reaction up the front side of your body. Let me pull up the video again. Okay, we looked at this one already. Let's look at this one right here. Okay, so we get a good view of this front foot here. Let's watch how this front foot lands. I'll back it up a little bit. Okay, so here you go. Here's your load, the click, click, load. Watch, click in, click out. Watch the front foot as it lands. Almost lands pointed at the pitcher right there. Okay, and my concern with that is we typically tell hitters to land closed because if you're pointing your toe at the pitcher here, right, there's going to be a chain reaction up the front side. And I'll draw on the screen and show you right here. If you're landed open with your toe pointed towards the pitcher like this, right, it's going to open the inside of the knee here. It's going to open the front hip, which is going to connect all the way up to the front shoulder and ultimately your head up here. And we do not want these all opening up too early because everything's going to get pulled in this direction around the back, okay? We want to make sure that we're landing closed. So let me clear the screen. If you land closed here with the front foot at a 45 or less, so let's say it's like a 45 or less here, okay? This should keep the entire front side closed off. And good hitters keep this front side closed as long as possible until they're ready to come through. And I think sometimes this pulls your hands this way to the pull side, and that leads to rollovers. So let's watch how the front foot is landing. These are kind of nitpicky, not the biggest deal in the world, but just things we got to watch and monitor and clean up over time. The next thing on the document talks also about landing, and it has to do with landing even. And we've talked about this for a couple of years now. We want to avoid stepping across our body and it leads to an increase in rollovers. It's kind of a theme of the day here. I know, same thing with your pitching. We've worked on you, and you have that funny, quirky front step where you step across your body and throw back across your body, similar to your pitch to your hitting here. So watch your landing position here. Let me pull up the other video where it has a better angle here. Okay, so let me just zoom it in a little bit. Okay, so you can use this line here as kind of a point of reference. And I think I was kind of getting on your case about it here. So do a decent job here, but sometimes watch the inconsistent front foot landing. We want to make sure that we're landing even, meaning not stepping across. So if your toe's right here, we want to land here. Whereas sometimes you tend to step across with this front foot and land here. Sometimes you do, sometimes you don't. And then you're going to have to, on an inside pitch, or the pitch is traveling inside here, you're going to have to go across your body and swing this way, which leads to you clipping the baseball and rolling over. So let's watch a couple more clips of it, but we're talking about landing even with that front foot as it comes down. You want to land closed and land even. You're actually doing a better job of it here, a little bit, not too much, but in the other ones that I've seen, the other videos that I've watched, sometimes you step across your body more and more. So let's just monitor that and keep an eye on that. The last two things, we'll start with the upper half here, talking about the path of the bottom hand, right? So I'm going to talk about rollovers again. In your swing, I've noticed that you are very top hand dominant for you. So that's your back, that's your left arm, which leads to you being pull happy, right? Once again, more rollovers, being top hand dominant. We want to make sure that we're using our bottom hand to pull the knob through and that we're balanced in both hands, right? The top hand your top hand at the point of contact kind of rolls over, and I'll show it to you in slow motion here. We want to make sure that we're finishing the path of the bottom hand. The bottom hand is pulling the knob through the zone, and the top hand is just there in support. It's not going to dominate at contact. So let me pull up the video here, show you what I mean. Let me go full screen so you can really see it. Okay. Okay, so if I bring this back a little bit here. At the point of contact right here, you're about to make contact. Watch how it's a little blurry, but you can see that your wrist breaks and your top hand pulls over a little bit here. Okay, let me show another swing here. Yeah, another one right here. Go in reverse. So at this point right here, that bottom hand should be pulling that knob through the zone, nice and balanced. And in some of them, right there, you see how this top hand, you see almost the back of that top hand right here because you're rolling it over right there. You know, we'd prefer if you got extended out in front all the way through before rolling over, because sometimes you get to this point, especially when you're early, and that top hand rolls over and you catch the top of the ball, you generate that top spin towards the pull side, towards the second baseman, first baseman. So we want to make sure that you're not being top hand dominant right there and rolling your wrists over early that lead to rollovers. And this is something that we could discuss in person too. Main idea is that, and some of these are nitpicky and small, but the main idea is that we want to try to cut down on these rollovers. You're way too fast and you're way too good of a hitter to be mixing in rollovers where you're getting frustrated, jogging back to the dugout. We want to make sure that we're getting you on base. Last thing I wrote is just about your approach in general. Avoid being pull happy, right? Use the whole field, break the plate into thirds like we talk about, right? Hitting the ball where it's pitched, all pitches to all fields, being productive. I think you're at your best when you're living gap to gap, line to line, using the whole field, and then avoiding. Sometimes you have that, drop in your hands. The last thing I wrote there, just as a reminder, keep those hands up, high hand path, hands across the chest with your speed. We've seen you beat out balls on the ground, all the time, and we got to get you on base. I tried to find a video for a frisbee drill here that I like, and talking about the bottom hand. So I have two videos, and I'll wrap it up here. Talking about the bottom hand here. Watch this video. This is the path of the bottom hand. When I say that you roll over with that top hand a little bit, I'll show a side angle here. And the bottom hand, the path of the bottom hand is gonna be like throwing a frisbee. So here he is right here. I'll break it down in slow motion here. This is how you should complete that bottom hand. He's a lefty too that I like here. He's gonna pull it back, get through the contact here, and then look how he extends all the way through to his backside here, right? So when they go piece by piece here, I'll show you the point that you roll over here with the top hand. So right here at this point of contact is where your top hand kind of dominates and rolls over. And we want to make sure that that bottom hand is pulling the knob through all the way through and getting out in front of you, balanced with both hands right here in front before you finish that swing. So the path of the bottom hand, we use the kind of the metaphor, the analogy is throwing the frisbee. So this is the path of that bottom hand. And we could do a one-handed drill with the small bat to help you. The last thing I wanted to show you was I tried to find an MLB comparison for your swing, and the best I could do was Joey Gallo. You can watch the swing here. Watch how he has a vertical bat angle here. He's straight up with the bat, kind of tips it straight up like this, and then watch how his bat kind of also like you drops flat right there, and then he pulls it through. I'll show it again in slow motion. Kind of similar to what you do here, and I think there's a knock on him that about his batting average that I'll show you in a second. Vertical, tip up, gets flat, then he has to pull it around. Leads to a lot of home runs, a lot of power right there. This is a home run to the pull side again. But the knock on Joey Gallo, and you're going to yell at me for this one when I see you. If you're not familiar, is if you zoom in on Joey Gallo here, they get on him for the 41 home runs he averages a year right here. But because of the hole in the swing brought on by that, he's going to hit 41 home runs a year, but he has a career batting average of 208, which we want to avoid with you. You are way too good to have holes in the swing. So we'll fix that batting. We'll talk about it next time, and you can yell at me for pointing that out. No problem here. Okay, let me clear my screen, break it down, get you out of here. So, like we said, a lot of success for you lately. Worried about as the velocity and the pitching gets better, are you going to have holes in the swing? Too many balls in the air. We want to make sure that you're driving the baseball using the whole field. We'll talk about the bat angle in person. Let's keep an eye on the front foot getting down, landing closed. Let's keep an eye on landing even, not stepping across, and then extending with that bottom hand, finishing the path of that bottom hand. Okay? We think there's a very bright future for you. We're very excited to continue to work with you here. Any questions you have for me, please do not hesitate to reach out, and I'll see you at the next session.